All right, moving on to Joyride 2. This movie was made 7 years after the first one. That's a long time to ride the success of a previous film, especially for some direct-to-DVD sequel. I mean, I know that you're just riding the the curtails of a previous film's success, but this is just such a long time to wait to do that. Now, the Joyride film, the first one, has legs. It has stayed relevant and people really enjoy it. So throwing out a sequel at any time probably would have worked to some degree financially. But I'm curious on why this took so long to get made. Maybe they're just digging around in their reserves and looking through their catalogs of what do we have the rights to. Oh yeah, Joyride, people like that, let's make a sequel, which is probably what happened. Now this film plays out way more like a slasher film. The other one's just kind of a thriller, like Duel, as I compared it to in the previous review. This one plays it off way more like a slasher film, which is kind of to be expected with a lower budget, direct-to-DVD sequel. They always gotta up the body count, up the action, up all this stuff. So it wasn't that surprising. I do love that this movie opens on a bottle of pink champagne. Like, blink and you'll miss it. It's just like it sweeps right past it. It's like half a second you see it. Now I have the 3-pack DVDs of Joyride 1, 2, and 3, the trilogy pack, and I don't know if this movie looks that bad or if this DVD transfer is bad, but my God, this movie looks fucking awful. I don't know if it was the production value, the cinematography, what. I think it is, though. I don't think there is a much better copy out there. My God, does this film look horrendous. This film actually is about a joyride, as opposed to the last film, where it's more of a crank call. Seabee crank call. This is about kids who break down, so they go and they hoof it on foot down to a house they think is abandoned. They find this car out in the garage and they take it with the intention of returning it, even though when they get to town, they don't call the police or go somewhere to return the car. They decide, I'm just going to continue driving this to Vegas. Like, they're fucking thieves. And I almost feel no sympathy for them. What the hell did they think was going to happen? Like, oh, we're going to replace your door and we're going to replace this. And when they get to the restaurant, they don't go in and call the police and or call a tow truck or try to go get their car. They're just like, let's eat and then let's get back in the car and get to Vegas. It's like, you're in town now. This is all you needed the car for. Now you're just fucking thieves. Now you're just on an actual joyride. And I don't fucking blame someone for coming and trying to hunt you down. Now, should they kill you for stealing your car? Probably not. This is to the extreme. But while watching this, I was kind of like, you guys are fucking dicks. And no one's a bigger dick than this third wave emo punk kid. Oh my God. He is so annoying. Now, his character does then break down the facade that he'd been putting on. He has tattoos that end up being fake, lip rings that end up being fake. So he's a total sham. And it was good to watch that kind of melt away. But regardless, I still had to sit through that facade for the first 50 minutes of this movie. And I wanted to punch the kid in the fucking face the entire time. But most characters want to have that character you want to hate, and this is that character. You're just like, oh, shut this kid the fuck up and kill him already. And they do. And I think there's 4 deaths in this movie, and they're all fairly graphic. So that was cool, because the first one really has no deaths, which it didn't need it. It didn't need gratuitous violence or kills or anything, because it's a well-crafted movie. When you've got a shittier, lower budget, direct-to-DVD sequel, these are the kinds of movies where you throw in a ton of kills and have some fun with it, so that we're not sitting there bored like, really? You're trying to take this seriously? This is not the kind of movie you take seriously. Now, could this have been a serious movie? Sure. with better actors and a better production value and whatever, but they didn't have those things, so I'm glad that they went for a little bit more fun of a route. Now, this isn't a great movie by any means. It is a huge downgrade from the first one, but still enjoyable. Like a notch above good. It's just like a fun time. Like you're just like, oh yeah, this is kind of fun. There's some parts that are just, like, oh, this is stupid. But there's enough fun to be had here that it was worth the watch for sure. Revisiting it was not a chore. This, like all other horror movies, shows you that when you're out on the road and you're driving somewhere and all you have is a map, do not take that shortcut. It never pans out. Ever. Man, have I seen so many movies where the kids decide to take a shortcut and it does not work out well for them. The main kid in this, the girl's boyfriend, is Steel from DC's Legends of Tomorrow on the CW. I watch all the CW shows, and it was like, hey, it's Steel. I love that guy. And he's fine here. I don't think anyone gives a very good performance. Now, what this movie is lacking more than anything, the thing that is so apparent, and what hurts this movie dramatically, is the lack of Ted Levine's voice as Rusty Nail. The guy they have trying to imitate his voice is not doing a very good job. In fact, I think myself, I do a better Candy Cane than this guy. I don't feel like he sounds like him at all, and it just isn't anywhere near as menacing as Ted Levine. Not even close. So that hurt this film very, very much. I think that if Ted Levine had returned, I think Ted Levine has better shit to be doing than this. But if for some reason he had returned, I think this film would have been definitely a notch better than it was. It's funny how cultural references can date a movie. When the characters mention stuff like MySpace and Punk'd and stuff, you're just like, oh, I know when this took place. It doesn't hold up later on. I wonder if Facebook won't be a thing soon and we'll all be watching movies in 5 years and being like, oh yeah, remember Facebook? And this movie actually addresses the cell phone issue in a little bit of a different way. Usually they go for the no service or low battery shuts off route. But this one, he forces them to put the cell phones under the car tire and run them over. So I always like when that stuff's at least addressed and it isn't super cliche like the previously mentioned things I just said. I like that when Rusty Nail almost runs them over, that the girl gives him the middle finger and then he calls them and tells him that she gave him the middle finger and he wants it. She gave it to him and it's his. And he wants her to cut it off and give it to him. I just thought that was a cute little spin on a saying, like, she gave me the middle finger. I don't know why I found that to be cute and clever like it did. I have to laugh that with this movie, the last movie, and I'm sure the next movie, Rusty Nail somehow stalks these kids in a gigantic, loud as fuck truck that can't go anywhere near as fast as the car they steal in this movie. So, of course, they're going to ignore that like they do Jason being able to walk and catch up with people who are fucking running as fast as their legs can carry them. There's definitely some lines in this movie that made me laugh out loud. One of my favorites was the striptease that she gives, and it ends up being this pervert trucker that Rusty Nail gave info to come down and watch this girl strip. He tells her that he loves super Mongo jugs and circus boobs. That shit made me laugh out loud. I fucking cracked up at those lines. I have never heard either of those phrases towards boobs. And I've heard a lot of talk about boobs in my life. Most of it coming from my own mouth. So I got some new sayings for boobs. Yay! I think another thing that truly hurts this film, with the lack of Ted Levine, we also have the lack of Steve Zahn, Lily Sobieski, and Paul Walker. Like, the characters in this movie are just not interesting. And the only character that is interesting is the character that's pissing me off the whole time, because I just want him to shut the fuck up. It's missing all of the previous cast. That's the big thing. And then it looks like shit. I guess this movie's just not good. And I'm like shitty movies, so I found enjoyment in this. I'm not going to deny that as a probability. But I like what I like. And I always give good reasons, I feel, for why I do and do not like things. As I said in my last review, that I like that the Seabee language in this was accurate. I had studied Seabee lingo for a script I had written, and we have attention to detail here. They use references like lot lizards and bears and whatnot, like they did in the last one. And it was like, oh yeah, okay, you're still sticking to that. That's cool. And I mentioned that I love the scene where she says she gives him the middle finger. He wants the middle finger, and then right before he kills her, she finally gives it to him again, right as he hits her with the truck. So he got his middle finger back. We get him in this torture scene between these two guys playing like craps from hell, where they have to pick which torture is going to be implemented on either one of them. And one of the tortures is the guy gets branded with a rusty nail, and it's shaped in the form of an R. We also have the truck going off of a cliff while burning and blows up midair, like every car going off a cliff in movies. I'm not sure why it always blows up in midair, but I guess just like the airflow coming from falling expands the flames. It gets all that oxygen, so it expands and it blows the truck. That's me stretching. But you think he's dead, but of course he isn't. And we see that he lets the girl in his truck, and if you yet another, like, blink and you miss it, when he reaches out to open up the car door, you see his hand is all burned up inside. So I didn't realize the truck was on fire that much to where he's that visually scarred, but he is. And obviously there's a third one, so we know that he lives. We had some cool kills in this, and you got the guy who gets his jaw ripped off and he throws it, and even Rusty even picks up a couple puns here. He's like, yeah, some of like the guy's jaw dropped, like you should have saw his jaw drop or whatever. He throws a jaw on the ground. Cute stuff. Like, he became more of a punny killer slasher in this, which is fine. I'm sure it's going to be to the nth degree in the next one. We shall see. But yeah, I hope that they up the kills and the gore, just because it'd be fun. I know it's not going to be a good movie, so why the fuck not? Maybe throw in some tits. Let's go for the trifecta. All right, guys. I will get to the third one tomorrow. Good night.